let the beast out, caged up, held down for far too long. You ready? Be ready. Breathe in, smell the victory. Breathe out, let go of all the doubt you feel. Believe, reject defeat. Don't ever be afraid to be a legend. When it's on the line, seize the moment when the moment's right. Come on, you're in this fight. Don't ever be afraid to be a legend. Stand the test of time. Seize the moment when the moment's right. Come on, believe you're in this fight. Don't ever be afraid to be a legend. Hold up, are you listening? Focus in, we're looking to make history. Let's go, we know.
So, guys, what would the high school football world be if there were a transfer portal? Because everybody is talking about the college football transfer portal right now. And so I put on my thinking cap over the past week or so and tried to imagine a world in Georgia high school football that implemented a transfer portal. You know, so to be honest with you, some people think that we already have that now in the world of clandestine recruiting, if you will. So we're going to cover that topic tonight. So I'm sure that our super fans are going to be very, very opinionated, and we've got 3/4 of those fans tonight. So let me go ahead and bring on these guys. Guys, by the way, you're watching the pregame blitz. George, how are you, buddy?
Doing great, Larry. Good to see you.
Man, you look comfortable. That must be your pregame blitz recliner.
I hope I'm as comfortable as the people listening. That's the point, right? We sit back, get comfortable, and talk about high school football, some college football, sprinkle a little bit of that in there.
Absolutely.
So why not be comfortable?
And let's go ahead and bring on another super fan. We've missed him I can't remember how long it's been since we've heard the great one's voice, Justin Kyle Haley. Has he been away a week or 2 weeks or a year? I can't recall. But everybody wants to hear from this guy. How are you, Justin?
I'm better now. I think it was 2 weeks. I had to take 2 weeks off, but hey, I'm back, and the star of the show's here. So
that's right, man. Hey, listen, the other quarter of our group is in the hospital with his wife, and that's Cole Moore. So we want to congratulate guys, Cole and Lauren Moore, on the healthy birth of a bouncing baby girl. And I think she was born yesterday. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I believe she was induced yesterday, and I think they had a cesarean, or either they were induced yesterday. I'm not sure how it went down, but yeah.
Absolutely. So you guys know Cole Moore from Facebook land. If you guys are Facebook friends with Cole or Lauren Moore, reach out to them, congratulate them, because it's a big time in their life. They're first-time parents, and man, is their world going to change. Pretty dramatically, right, George? Justin, I don't know if you have kids yet. You're still pretty young.
No, I have 32, but I got no kids, my man.
I got you. George, I don't know when the child bug hit your family, but I remember Ellen and I, we've been married 28 years, guys, and we were married for 5 years. We did that on purpose. We were married for 5 years before we had our first child, and that was our son, Matthew. And I can't believe that in June, he's going to be 24 years old. 23 years old, something like that. I can't remember. Time goes by in a hurry.
Quickly.
So anyway, his world is going to change in a hurry if it hasn't already.
Indeed. And then 20 years from now, it'll be like a blur.
Just like a blur. That's exactly
what
right.
I did today. I was interviewing a guy for a position, and I almost took on the role of dad, like consulting him. And I'm like, wait, because I'm looking at this kid going, I've got a daughter nearly your age.
Absolutely, man.
Be real.
Listen, guys, we got a lot to talk about tonight. I couldn't wait for us to get together because one of the things that's happening in the world of high school football, it happens this time of year every year. I used to call it the silly season, but that's really not what it is. It's the dominoes season. And that's when coaches start to move around. Right. They get picked off by one program or another, and that causes another domino to fall. Then that program raids another staff, and another domino falls. And so it could be early March before the dominoes start falling. stock falling, I should say.
Easily.
Yep. So I'm sure that we're going to get into that tonight. One big one is I don't know if this is in the top 10% as far as smallest schools in Georgia, but it's got to be up there among the smallest schools in Georgia, and that's Bacon County. Why in the world are we talking and starting our show off tonight with little old Bacon County, the Red Raiders over there? I'll tell you why. Because this offseason, they have really, really gone after some big names to fill that head coaching vacancy for their program over there. I'm sure you guys have heard the names that everybody has, right? You got Justin, one of them, Joel Ingram.
Yep, Joel Ingram was one of them. I don't know.
Alan Rodemaker.
Yep, Rodemaker should have been the guy, but apparently whenever he goes to interview and ask for what he asked for, it's some pretty outrageous stuff when it comes to back end of things, not just the salary, but the other stuff he wants on top of it.
Yeah, I've got some details to share with the folks tonight. I learned about some of those details over the previous week, and man, you're exactly right. George, the salary was there. They were willing to give him what he asked for. That's what I was told. Yeah. Right. But some of the other things that he was asking for was just a little too much. So, and I don't know if a school like Bacon County, the size of that school and that program with the size of their booster club, they can give you some. Yeah. But they can't give you all. So
they don't have the Ford place there anymore either.
That's right. So you got you got Joel Ingram, you got Alan Rodemaker, you got Jim Dickerson, Homerville guy, former Clinch County Panther head coach. He was a very, very serious contender, and he was basically on the cusp of accepting that job and had a change of heart over a long weekend and decided not to go there. So you got him. You got Rush Probst threw his name. I've been told threw his name into the hat, although he didn't get an interview. That's what I've been told.
Yeah, he didn't. He threw his name in via email, but didn't get an interview. But the guy that they actually really wanted and almost had was named Michael Pollock, Jacksonville State coach, and he wanted to move back closer to his daughter. But then some things happened, and he wasn't able to take the job. But that was their number one guy they really wanted to go after.
Yeah, I was had a couple of different, maybe three sources in one way or the other say that that could have been the influence of some family members.
Yeah,
that prevented him from accepting that job and moving his family to Alma.
Yeah.
So they've literally had three guys right at the finish line, big names that were really willing to take up the mantle there in Alma, and all of a sudden it just falls apart at the last minute. And so they end up with, what's his name? Mark Wilson.
Yeah.
Do you guys know much about him?
I know about him from, I've actually, my sister lives in Taylor County, believe it or not, and has a daughter that goes to high school there. And I know him from a little bit from that, but I know I've seen him coach whenever they had Lynn J. Dixon, and then Gunner, what is his last name? He's a starting quarterback for Troy now. He was a quarterback there whenever Lynn J. Dixon was there, the former Clemson running back. Okay. And he's actually he seems like a really good coach. He has a pretty good pro style scheme.
Watson.
Do what now? Yeah,
Watson.
Yeah, Gunner Watt. That's right. Yeah. And I think he'd be a good fit. His scheme and what he brings to the table, as far as what he. I think there's a lot of similarities between Taylor County and Bacon, just meaning that you don't get a ton of talent there, year in and year out. But I think with his style and I think Bacon generally has some bigger kids on the lines. I think his scheme will do well.
So he's one of those coaches. Do you guys think that he's like a safe pick? Was he like a their backup plan? I don't want to upset anyone from Alma or Bacon County, that area, by calling him a backup plan. But you guys know what I mean. They go after some big names. They all turn them down, and he was a guy that says, "Yeah, I'm in." So was he just their fallback?
From I nobody has said this, but just from the pecking order that I know to be true, he's like, yeah, about third or fourth down the list.
Gotcha. So Mark Wilson was at Taylor County for what, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years?
Yeah.
And so here's his. Now he left the program. Now it's really weird. Did he left the program at the end of last season or before the completion of it? Do you know?
I think before the end of last season.
Because when I go and look up the Taylor County record, it's got like 2 coaches listed there for the team for the 2021 season. I couldn't make heads or tails of it, and I don't follow Taylor County, so I didn't know the details of that. So if you guys were listening tonight, let me know if you know anything about that. Ben Beam says Taylor did great when he was there compared to now. Well, let's take a look. So his first year there was 2015, and he took over the previous year under Chris Kirksey. Chris Kirksey was 1-8, and so Wilson takes over in 2015, goes 3-7, and guys, the very following year, they're 10-2.
That's with a D1 running back, a D1 quarterback in the middle of Taylor County. Not taking anything away from him, but the talent he had on that Taylor County team was it was stout.
You might have a point because the following year they go 8-3, but the 2 years after that they're 5-6, 5-6, and then get back on the plus side in 2020 at 6-3. And last year, I don't know what happened. There was a meltdown, went 3-6.
Yeah, but like I said, he kept a general 500 to a winning record even without that kind of talent. And if you look at the previous years before he was there, I don't think there was too many winning seasons. I don't think.
Now, if you're from Alma and you're watching this program tonight, and you hear me say they had a couple of seasons that were 5-6, 5-6, maybe a 3-6 season last year, and then you're scratching your head. It's like, man, is this guy really that good? I mean, is this who we really need? Guys, if you're a Bacon County Red Raider, think about where you just came from. Last year, you were 0-9. The year before that, you were 5-5. The year before that, you were 1-9 and 2-8. The last time you had a winning record was in 2017 at 6-4. And before that, it was 2014 at 6-5. So there's not very many years where you have 7-win seasons. Not many at all. Although I do have to make this note, guys. They've had more winning seasons since 1995 than my alumni, Berrien County. Which has had 1 winning season since 1995.
Yeah.
So, which is kind of a hard statistic or record for me to spit out, but it's just comical to me. I don't know. I digress. So
you're letting those coaches go too soon, Larry. That you're training up for the big leagues. You got to hang on to more years.
I guess so. So instead of 4 years, I guess we need to wait it out and go 10 years. Maybe we'll finally build the program that we need.
Backload the incentives to get them to hang out years 5 through 8 or 9.
Hey guys, if you're part of my Berrien County peeps, listen, I know some of you have been telling on me to the Berrien administration. That's what I've been told. So call them up while we're on the air tonight and just invite them to watch the program live instead of going back and watching the replay, just so they can get what I say firsthand from me. That's my challenge to you guys that are squealing on me, if you will. So
somebody needs to, man. You do a lot of trash talking. People, it flies under the radar too much. I'm glad somebody's bringing it to light.
Now, Justin, did you just get on to me for trash talking? You are like the king of, man, we should start calling you Elvis Presley, you the king of trash talking.
No, man, I tell the truth in a blunt way. People just don't like the truth.
I like the way you describe that. I love it.
Hey, one thing I was looking at, guys, on Coach Wilson was he began coaching in 1988. So that is, it may be a situation. Again, I live right here in Alma's backyard. I do business in Alma with blueberries. They're the blueberry capital of the world, and certainly the state. But do you think there might be a component of, hey, that's a nice salary. I go there and knock out a couple years. I don't really care if. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't care and he's not going to put forth the effort, but would that be playing into the thinking there? I don't know what he was making at Taylor. I've not researched that. It's public information.
Yeah, it
But
could very well be.
it
Hey
could
guys,
be.
let me take a quick commercial break and just to remind the folks who our sponsors are tonight, because I want to make sure I get those guys in. Guys, this show, this episode is sponsored by Pepsi. They're our newest sponsors, and if you guys haven't tried some of these flavors out, I mean, I was in touch with the general manager of the local Pepsi bottling company today that sponsors the show. And I'm supposed to go this Thursday afternoon to pick up some product to display on the show, product placement. And he's got some wild flavors I've never tried. Have you guys ever tried like Mountain Dew Spark? Have you ever heard of that?
I've not.
Yeah. So he's going to get me like Pepsi energy drinks, Mountain Dew Zero, that kind of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to displaying and testing some of those on air. You guys will see firsthand whether or not I like this Mountain Dew Spark or not. I can't wait, guys. I can't wait. So don't worry. I'll find a way. I see you shaking your head, Justin. I'll find a way to get you some product, man.
LG gets all the benefits from our great knowledge.
Listen, you needed to proudly display that PreGame Blitz tumbler.
I don't have it with me. It's in the kitchen.
Gosh. Oh, my God. Well, guys, if you're in the South Georgia region and you have the need for custom shades or blinds, give our buddy Tim Neesmith a call at A Shade of Perfection. He does a fantastic job of customizing window treatments with shades and blinds. If you're ever suffering from migraines or headaches, back pain, if you need a nerve conduction test, go give our guys, Josh Batson and Justin Haskin, a call there at the Migraine and Spine Clinic of Valdosta. Couple more, and over the next 3 or 4 weeks, we're hoping to bring on a couple more sponsors. White Oak Investment, Kyle Conger. I met with Kyle today he did a kind of health checkup, if you will, at the beginning of the year of my finances, because he manages those for me as far as investments and retirement planning. So good news, guys. We're right on schedule, George. You and I are at that age where we start to think about retirement. It's just right down the road. And Justin, I don't know about you, but I've already called my manager and put in my notice. I told him, I said, Danny, I'm putting in my retirement notice. You've only got 10 more years out of me, so I'm giving you plenty of notice to find my replacement. So you got 10 years left before I retire. That's my goal, guys. So anyway, if you need that kind of help, give Kyle Conger at White Oak Investment. Don't worry about it if you're in Valdosta. He's got an office in Thomasville, one in Valdosta, one in Jacksonville. He's got money will travel, and he will help you with your money. Verizon Wireless on Perimeter Road. Give Matthew Godwin a call if you need iPhones, Androids, or accessories. Or if you want to sponsor this show, give me, the G Nation Media guy, a call or send me a direct message. So those are our sponsors, and we thank every single one of them. So we were talking about Bacon County and the head coaching job, but that's not the only coaching change that we see. That's last week or the week before we talked about Sean Calhoun going to Moultrie. That's not the end of the changes there over at Moultrie, because Sean Calhoun's going to be hiring some staff members to join that staff. So as a Lowndes guy, I hate to be the one to break the news to our fellow Lowndes fans, but Colquitt got one of our guys, and that's our offensive line coach, Bryce Giddens, will be leaving the Lowndes program and headed over to the Colquitt County Packers as their offensive line coach. So, that was kind of, I guess you could expect that one to happen, because Bryce Giddens was a offensive lineman for the Colquitt County Packers.
Okay.
He played for Rush Propst over there. So he's from Moultrie. So it makes a lot of sense that he would be going home to Moultrie to help coach his alma mater. So we wish Coach Giddens the very best. Super, super class guy. Super nice guy. What other coaching changes do you guys have you heard or you are foreseeing will happen? Because Justin, you were telling me the other day that Dublin had an addition to their staff, right?
Yeah, I broke the news like a month ago and then got in trouble by by Roger Holmes. Unfortunately, he didn't. I guess I should have worded it differently, but they did end up hiring Joe Ingram, and he's going to be the right now. He's just going to be the defensive line coach, actually. But you could pretty much look at that as study up under Roger for a couple of years, and Roger's kind of on up there in age and getting ready for retirement. So you can kind of see why they put Joel in the position he's in for right now.
That's right. That's right. So that's an interesting name because he was being considered for the Bacon County job too, right?
Yeah, he was actually their number one guy after. So there was kind of some number ones. Pollock was one. Ingram was one, but they really wanted Ingram. But an accident kind of happened with his family to where they couldn't move. And whenever that happened, he had to let them know he wasn't going to be able to take the job. So he stayed closer to where he's at and went to Dublin. Gotcha.
Okay. Some other this is kind of old news now. It's over a week old, so it's old for all of us. And that's Andy Dyer has resigned from Archer. Adam Clack has resigned from Milton. Now, when big names like that from big programs resign, because 7A, that as many people consider that at the top of the food chain when it comes to high school football, and Archer and Milton are some big names up in the North Georgia area as far as high school football programs goes. And so when a high profile coach resigns like that unexpectedly, guys, there's all if they don't put out some type of very clear, transparent statement that makes sense why they're leaving, you know what fans do? Fans start to fill that void. And there's many fans that just start making stuff up. And then when they make stuff up, it just spreads like wildfire. So we had heard all kinds of rumors. Now, my bet is that these guys probably want to be college coaches somewhere. I don't know if they've already landed somewhere, but I've heard that that's the case for Coach Clack, that he wants to try his hand at the college football ranks. Kind of like what Mickey Kahn did when he was there as head coach for Grayson and won some championships up there. What did he do? He bolted for Clemson, became a quality control coach, and now he's an on-field assistant. Yeah. So what do you think about these high-profile head coaches trying to make the jump to the college level? You think that's a good move?
It's kind of the nature of the beast, though, isn't it? And in many scenarios where they start out at the high school level and have aspirations, they're young enough, and by way of contacts or just personal ambition, want to move to the next level.
Yeah,
and take it to the college level. Others want to stay put in high school level. But yeah, you're right. Mickey Kahn didn't he just accept when Venables left to go to Oklahoma? I think he accepted a pretty significant promotion, right?
I can't remember exacyly what position, Coach.
Right,
but it represented a pretty significant raise
for sure. So I think it's kind of not on. Doesn't raise any flags with me, like green or red, really.
Right.
Just I think it's part of their progression of their career.
You just said something interesting. You said I think you said something like some coaches just don't like that kind of lifestyle when it comes to college versus high school. Mm-hmm. Let me give you an example of that. We just got through talking about Bryce Giddens, Lowndes offensive line coach, going to Colquitt County. He did a very short stint as I can't remember if it was a quality control assistant, but some type of an assistant at Auburn University several years ago. And so the first question that he got asked when he came to Lowndes is, why in the world would you step back into high school ball when you're already there at the D1 level? You just wait your turn in line. You're going to have assistants rotate out. Then all of a sudden you find yourself as a position coach, and it represents a pretty significant pay increase when it comes to a major D1 program like Auburn. You know what he said to me? He said, because I didn't want to travel as much as we were required to travel, because those guys are on the road all the time recruiting.
Absolutely.
Right.
Especially nowadays. Look at the landscape of college football, how it's changing.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for coaching high school. Well, yeah, it's a very demanding schedule during the season because you got some of these coaches, if not all of them, putting in 70 plus hours a week during the season on top of their regular teaching duties, right?
Yeah.
Because listen, let's face it, the head coach gets all the glory and he gets paid primarily to coach football, but these assistants are usually teachers first, and then they get paid a smaller stipend to be the assistant football coach. So these guys put in a lot of hours during football season, but during the off season, they get to kind of relax a little bit. But in college ball, there is no downtime, no downtime at all.
I think you're going to see a big name come back from college football back to high school, Georgia high school football. And I think you're going to see Jess Simpson come back.
Really?
The former Buford coach, yeah.
I mean, he's an NFL guy now, isn't he?
Yeah, but he still likes a few years to be able to retire and stuff. And from my understanding, he kind of wants back in to an extent in the future at some point.
Gotcha.
I'm not saying right now, but I've just been told he kind of wants back to be able to come back and take it easy for a few years after he gets done, with his career there, and then come back. And so if he comes back and there's a prominent job open in Metro Atlanta, that's going to be interesting if he decides to do that.
George, let me ask you something. Justin brings up Jess Simpson. I don't know the coaching history of Jess Simpson, but I know he was a longtime head coach for the Buford Wolves. And won several championships there, has a very stellar head coaching record there. Yeah. If and when he jumps back into high school ball and becomes a head coach again, presumably not at Buford, I wonder how good of a head coach he is. Because, he was coaching Buford. They were going to win a lot of ball games. So what if he takes over a Milton or an Archer or a Peachtree Ridge or something like that? I'm starting to wonder how good of a head coach that some of these guys actually are versus the players around them.
It very interesting, fodder for thought. I mean, now Metro Atlanta, still Metro Atlanta. I mean, Gwinnett County alone has what, 1 million people.
So what are you saying, that there's a lot of programs for him to inherit a lot of talent?
There may be a way to still procure talent. It'd be interesting to see him, and Coach App and some of these other guys put on full display their facilities.
That's right.
And try to induce parents to move their 8th graders over,
right,
prior to high school, which would make it all on the up and up. I would love to see something like that happen, though, with him coming back. It only makes things more interesting.
I mean, not to beat this dead horse, but everybody who's high on Rush Probst, I mean, the same thing. It's the exact same thing. What could he do? He applied for some of these smaller jobs,
right?
With zero talent out there and stuff. What was he really going to do, and how good of a coach is he really? I think Simpson's a lot better coach than Rush is when it comes. Yes, 1,000%.
Come on, man. I'm not a Rush lover, but Justin, that's a pretty profound statement there.
You put the records and the titles up against each other. It's not comparable. Not in the state of Georgia.
Well, and the knock on Rush, I think we talked about this recently, Justin. You've seen him coach within the game itself, not in the offseason recruiting. I'd give that nod to Rush, because he's took Southwest Georgetown and brought people from California to the Valdosta, so forth. But on a bona fide move, right?
Dang, George, I thought you were going to actually give him a compliment, man.
Oh, I was going to say, though, I think the nod may go to Jess Simpson when you're talking about intra-game, like coaching decisions. I would agree with you there.
Yeah, if you look at Simpson and the games that he coached, the big time games. Yeah. I don't think you can point to a game and say he got out coached, but the last 2 state championships Rush were in, you could 100% say he got out coached by Clack in that Milton game. I just don't. You can't say the same about Simpson, and that's where I think he just has an edge. I think I think that mentality, and there's something about Northern coaches that are able to adjust in game better than South Georgia coaches are.
I will say this to Rush if he's watching tonight, or maybe he'll catch it on the replay later on. Coach Probst, listen, I know that the Bacon County folks didn't give you the time of day. It wouldn't give you the interview. But listen, man, in a year, maybe two, when the Berrien coaching position opens up, give me a call, man. I'm going to move heaven and earth to try to at least get you the interview. Now, you got to do the selling on your own. I mean, you got to close the deal. But I'm going to try my very best to get you an interview. That's my promise to you. So call me, Coach. So anyway, sorry, guys, for that. Had to take a little detour for that infomercial.
My man's talking about church and selling the soul all at the same time.
There's not very much, but I will have to tell him there's not very much funny money in Berrien County. There's not much to be had there.
There's some out back at Ray's Mill Pond buried.
There's a little bit. There's a little bit.
Langdale's has got a lot of land in Berrien County too.
You know, if he's sweet to me, I can probably tell him where to find it. But you know, that's down the road. Hey, listen, by that time, we might have a full-blown transfer portal in the state of Georgia.
Might as well.
What do you think about that?
It'd be the best thing for high school football. Just open it up.
Why would you say something like that?
Why would it? Okay, here's my question to you.
Okay.
If you have a family,
yeah.
I'm just saying middle class family, because that's all it takes really in South Georgia. Just say upper middle class family, and I'm just going to use these two. I'm going to use this as an example. Valdosta and Brooks County. They're fairly close, or they're not too awful far apart. Let's say you have a upper farming class family, a few of them in Brooks, and they say, okay, we just want to go play football in Valdosta, and Valdosta has a $2,000 a student out of district tuition, and their kids are 16 years old, and they got the means to buy them a nice car and pay for the gas and the tuition to get back and forth. There's nothing wrong with a family being able to afford to send their kids to a better place if they deem it better, get a better education, and play for the football program they want to play for, and still live in that county. There's not a reason to you hold that against a family because other families don't have the same opportunity. I feel like if you have that opportunity and can afford to send your kids to wherever, and you can afford to pay the gas and get them to school, and they do what they're supposed to do, there's no reason why you can't open that up to everybody. Okay,
so you're in favor of this this bill before the Georgia legislature that basically would allow someone to do that. I mean, there's two bills, and we talked about it last week, but one of those would basically allow someone, regardless of where they live, what family member they live with, or anything like that. None of that can determine player eligibility according to this bill. And like you just said, that example that you just gave would basically be made legal if one of these bills, I can't remember the Senate bill number, but basically it says that as long as that student athlete is enrolled in that school at the beginning of the school year, then they can play for that school. No questions asked. That's the only requirement. As long as they weren't recruited or had some type of undue influence placed on them.
Without having to pay any out of district fees or.
Now that's something totally different.
Yeah.
Because that's not covered by the bill at all. So the receiving school, they still have the ability to deny or allow someone access into their school based on if they have tuition in place for out of district kids. Presumably those things would still be in place, but according to Justin's scenario, that wouldn't matter if they had the financial means to do it.
Well, that's a big if. Some of these athletes come from very, very little. And now that almost makes Justin's point, though. Why not give? I'm going to play devil's advocate because I'm not sure how I feel about this Wild West type transfer thing. But what if that's their ticket out and they can go play for a better coach at Colquitt or Valdosta or Lowndes? We use Brooks County. He's a great coach. I'm not knocking the Hammer at all. But why not? That may be their key to breaking that cycle of poverty in their family, Well,
my immediate reaction in the world of high school football would be this. The days of a community-based program would be over. That's just the way it is.
Are they still, do they still exist though or do we see this happening now? It's just sort of shadowy.
Yeah,
Or is it one of those things where once you make it legal, then it's just gangbusters?
Well, right now, you do have people transferring that kind of stuff. In South Georgia, you might have a player here or there based on geographic distance from town to town.
Oh, for sure.
Right. But if you open it up legally, like you're talking about, Justin, you're going to be opening up the floodgates. It's basically going to be the highest bidder. These schools are basically going to be incentivized to bring in the not just highest paid coaches, but I'm talking about mega bucks. You're talking about a lot of resources being devoted, and you're basically talking about a travel team at that point, a 7-on-7 travel team.
But my thing is, I guess I view it differently because I ended up graduating from a GISA school. So this was just prevalent even 15 years ago. The only reason why I ended up going to a private school is because I got recruited at a travel ball summer camp, basically. And one of the parents at that time, came up and said, "Hey, we'll give you X, Y, and Z. You come play and try to help us win a state championship."
Yeah.
My family had the means to send me anyway, so we did. But to me, I'm looking at the academic side of things, not only with football, but I'm looking at academic, and I'm just using that as an example. Okay. If you just open it up and say, okay, and this is I love Don Tyson, great dude, talk to him all the time, but I'm using Clinch as an example. Clinch's academics, I'm just saying, rank pretty down there when it comes to average SAT scores. So if you want your kid and your kid's good enough to play football, and you have a booster or maybe you have a parent that their son is currently at, say Lowndes.
Yeah.
And they got a kid currently at Lowndes. They're no tie to the school other than the kids being there. And there's a player at Clinch that says, "Hey, I want to come play at Lowndes, but this is also could give me a ticket academically to get my grades up. If I don't make it in football, I've got the grades, and now I may be able to land, Hope or whatever, and go to college." I've seen this all the time in private school. Let it happen. Let that parent, if he wants to give that kid money to be able to get from Clinch to Lowndes and play football, but that also may be able to help the kid in the long run when it comes to academics and get out of somewhere like Homerville. I look at it from that perspective. I understand that that's not what it's for, but at the same time, if you can have a win-win for the kid and somebody's willing to shuck out the money or, whatever, or you carpool to get there with another kid that's coming from that county that does have the means, let it happen.
And I would just say this doesn't occur in a vacuum either with just football, right? I mean, you're talking academics, band, other opportunities that a certain school system may offer that they may not be able to have at their disposal at their current place. So it's almost like a school voucher or school choice argument at some level.
Well, it's not really, because this bill that we're talking about before the legislature only addresses eligibility of playing for a system if you enroll at the beginning of the year. It does nothing about it. It doesn't talk about how you're going to finance the kid going from one school to the other. Now, there's nothing in place right now that prevents a kid from Homerville to go to Valdosta or Lowndes or Berrien or wherever he wants to go based on just academic. If he just wants to better himself academically, he can, as long as that receiving school already has a policy in place that allows out-of-district kids. Mm-hmm. A lot of schools don't. They don't allow out-of-district kids because of capacity. They just don't simply have the capacity in their buildings.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, though. If you open it up for sports, it opens up all these other avenues, because now you'll have parents of kids who, okay, I want my kid to win the championship. We're at Lowndes, and we need a defensive tackle, we need a cornerback, and we need 2 wide receivers to try to potentially get us over the top. Hey, there's 2 over there in Homerville. We can chuck out the money to get them from Homerville to here, back and forth. That's what I'm saying. When you open up that door for sports, it also opens up all these other doors for these kids that, they may be a great high school athlete, but they might not make it to college based on it. But there's avenues that get opened up just based on sports alone.
Sure. Listen, I don't think anyone can argue that I don't love the Lowndes football program. And the main reasons I love it is because it's my community. I love supporting my community. I just choose to do it via the football program. Now, if something like this were to come about, and let's say, Ja'Cory Brown just graduates this year, all of a sudden we have a big time need for a superstar athletic quarterback. We got 2 or 3 receivers that are graduating as well. We got a super stud running back in Chase Belcher. So there's all kinds of skill positions that Lowndes is going to need next year. So all of a sudden, if this bill were to pass, let's say you have 3 or 4 guys come in from Colquitt because they don't like the new coach. And you got a couple of guys from Valdosta coming over. Then you got a couple of guys from Cook County, maybe 3 or 4 guys from Cook County because they don't like the new head coach up there. And all of a sudden, Lowndes has got 10 or 11 new faces that we didn't have last year. And all those kids that I watched growing up through middle school, played 9th grade ball, put in their time on the JV team, it was their turn, and all of a sudden these kids get displaced, not just once, but if this happens year after year after year, then all of a sudden I'm, as a booster and a supporter, I'm asking myself, why am I supporting this community program anymore? It's not a community program.
Well,
so I start to withdraw my support because it's not my team anymore. It's a mercenary team.
But see, here's the thing. I see the same thing. So here's the deal with that, and just being blunt. If your kid's not good enough, your kid's just not good enough. He should be able to beat out someone who comes in from Cook. If he's good enough and he's worked that hard, it doesn't matter. You can take a kid who is average at football and work him to death, and he stays average. That's not helping. He stays the exact same and never gets any better. And you can take a kid from, you said Cook, so I'm using Cook as an example, as a raw athlete, come in and give him the accessibility to the stuff that Lowndes has, like the weight room and the coaches, and he works for 1 year. And this other kid who's been going through that program for 8 years, now the kid who come in who has just got raw talent and in 1 year's time surpasses this kid is 5 times better, it's not that kid's fault. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but at the end of the day, that community kid is not going to help you win anything because he never got any better. I see that.
That's not true. That's not true. Lowndes has got 5 state championships, and it wasn't all superstar studs. That we had a lot.
No.
Randy McPherson called Justin. This is what Randy McPherson called company men. Those are those good high school athletes that are the backbone of your team, and then you've got a handful of superstars that are basically the gasoline to the engine, but you still needed to have the engine, the building block of the car. That's what those long-term company community guys give any type of program. If you take a look at Thomas Castellanos, how many of those offensive linemen are superstar offensive linemen? But you know what, George? They were really good high school athletes that put in their time and almost took Ware to a championship this year.
Mm-hmm.
No. I get what you're saying. I understand that point. They're still going to be there and be a part of the team in rotation pieces, but they're not going to be the starters because if you have a kid, you tell me that, and I'm just using this as an example. You say, listen, and I'm just when I say Lowndes, I was just meaning that for any school, not just Lowndes. But let's just take. I'm just using Lowndes as an example. All right, let's say you got a 5'8", 160-pound kid who is, playing outside wide receiver because you have nobody else who runs a 4.8 and a 40. Right. All right, and that's what you're dealing with right now. You get a kid that comes in for Cook that's 6'3", 210 pounds that can run a 4.4 with a 40-inch vertical. I'm sorry, that kid just, the kid that's been there from Lowndes, he just didn't have the growth spurt. He may be working his tail off, and he may be a good rotation piece, but you're going to start that kid that just transferred in from Cook that's a freak athlete. Mm-hmm. And, I understand what you're saying. They're going to be rotation pieces, and they need to be there to be a core of the team. But if they're just not good enough to outbeat someone who come in from a different program, that's just talent beating talent, unfortunately. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not going to be an intricate part and need to be in there, and they could make a great play in the game that could, advance you in the playoffs, or they're not a good rotation piece. They're just not going to be that starter because that talent level just isn't there.
I completely understand your argument, and those mechanisms are already in place. If a kid wants to transfer from Cook County to Lowndes, there is a proper way, a mechanism that allows them to do that now. But what we're arguing about is something totally different. It's basically opening up the entire athletic world in Georgia high school sports. So basically anybody can go anywhere and they can't be challenged. They can't do nothing. That's what I'm arguing against, because my argument is it's going to ruin the community-based programs that we all love. Now, it's going to turn these programs in South and Middle Georgia into a Metro Atlanta. And I don't want that, Justin. I just don't, because I love supporting my community. And I'm not because when that Cook County kid comes to Lowndes and plays that 1 year, and after he graduates, he goes back to Cook County, he's gone. I barely even learned his name. I never knew his parents. They didn't go to church with us. Nothing like that.
Would you trade, be honest, would you trade all starting 11 positions on offense and defense on Berrien County to outside kids to win one state championship?
I would support that if they transferred in legitimately.
But I'm saying if they
move to Berrien County, because Berrien County's economy needs the money.
No, I'm saying if this bill passes and you got a group of 20 kids say, hey, let's go to Berrien and win a championship, we can do it. They move in, Berrien wins a championship. You're going to be against the championship?
I would.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mercenary team.
But are we swimming upstream? I mean, I think this is kind of the current.
Yeah,
I don't think it is. I don't think
I do. Because the only reason we're not where Metro Atlanta is, as we talked about earlier, is geographic, density and population. We're getting that way. Look at Warner Robins, and I'm not casting any dispersions of that town. They've got great football high school, programs there, but they've got a pretty good population there. I could see that maybe start happening there. I don't know it very well, but you know what I mean? Like Lowndes, Valdosta, that area, Brooks, you mentioned earlier, Cook, you could start seeing that happen. I just don't think there's going to be this wave of mercenaries running around and from travel ball and taking over a program, and everybody in the stands is going, who's this? My kid's sitting on the bench. I think it will happen. But what about that player who is challenged to be better? Because now they have better athletes coming to town, and maybe they do need to practice in the off season.
Yeah.
And strength and conditioning, so forth, to be better. And maybe they find another spot. Maybe they're not a quarterback. Maybe they're a safety or something.
So the way I see it playing out down here would be, the travel 7-on-7 teams are really growing in popularity, even in South Georgia. So we're starting to see some of these teams be developed now in South Georgia. So if something like this were to pass, right now, I could see a situation or a scenario where these guys that play together on a 7-7 team, maybe several of them live in Moultrie, some of them live in Lowndes or Valdosta, some of them live in Berrien. They live all over South Georgia, but within driving distance to a certain school, and over the summertime when they're playing in their 7-on-7 terms, they all agree, kind of like what they do in the Metro Georgia area now, Metro Atlanta area now. They all agree that, hey, you know what? Let's just for fun, let's all just play for Cook County this year. And they enroll in Adel at the beginning of the year. It could be conceivably 10, 15, 20 guys. These are these super athletes that play on these 7-on-7 teams. They bring Cook County a state championship. The next year, the same group of guys, they don't have to move, right? They can live right where they are. And now this time they decide to drive up to Tifton and play for Tift County. And they're basically a swarm of bees, if you will. Some killer bees just move from town to town to town.
Sounds like
I'm telling you guys, when you do something like this, you are going to ruin the community high school football in South Georgia.
But in your scenario, you're talking about 1 year. You're basically just saying, all right, let's say these kids move to Cook 1 year and then they all go to Tifton 1 year. That 1 year is not going to ruin anything. You still got your base kids there.
Right.
The only way it would ruin a program is if Tifton. I'm just going to say Tifton. If everybody says, all right, let's go to Tifton, and Tifton reels off a championship, now another group of 10 kids say, hey, you know what? Those kids, some of them kids are still going to be seniors. Let's go win one with them. And then we can be seniors and top dogs after that and try to win another one. And then you get a rotation, and then 10 years worth of transfers start piling in. That's the only time it'll ruin a program. But I'm with George. I don't think there's enough kids that will be able to transfer to have this crazy amount of kids that are going. I think there'll just be key pieces that team needs that can transfer in 4, 5, or 6. Because I'm gonna tell you something. If you don't pay attention, it's happening already in South Georgia just as bad in Atlanta as it is in one sport. Kids are getting together to go to school to play basketball and win these championships in South Georgia. That is already happening. You see 5, like America Something girls. I don't know if y'all paid attention to them. They put together a dynasty team last year, and they got the All-State girl from Fitzgerald. They moved in 2 or 3 from other places, and they were all on the same travel team, and all 6 or 7 girls got together and said, hey, let's go to America Something and win a state championship. And they blew through everybody and just killed the competition. So it's already happening in basketball pretty bad. The football would be in tow. Basketball is worse because, you generally only have like 10 on the roster.
Yeah.
So you get 5 or 6 transfer in. Football, you get 5 or 6 transfer in. They're just going to be key pieces that you need potentially for that team. I don't think it's gonna wreck a program as far as, because you got, 7A schools got 80 to 100 kids on the roster sometimes. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, 5 or 6. 5 or 6
less
kids.
10% of the team. Yeah. What if we put out our congressional hats here and said, all right, let's make amendments to the bill where you have to put a governor on how many you can accept, to your point, Larry, so you don't load up a team with 10 or 12 stud all-stars and one, you kind of limit the amount they can do this per season. I don't know if you regulate yourself back into the current situation we're in, because you got to have a certain amount of character for any of our stuff to really work, right? There's always workarounds. And
well, guys, this is already being done in the state of Florida, just 45 minutes south of me, right? This is all over the state of Florida. And you know what happens in Florida? Hardly anybody shows up at those football games. Hardly anybody shows up at their games down there. That's all I'm saying. The community just will not. You're always going to have. I concede the point that you're always going to have some diehards that just want a championship no matter what, right? They don't care the reason. They don't care the student's name or the athlete's grade point average. They just want a trophy on a case at the end of the season. But you have that in Florida now, and I'm just saying that there's not very many fans in that community that support those programs.
Yeah, but your biggest schools in Georgia right now aren't really supporting programs that great. I mean, if Lowndes may be a little different, but like Valdosta, for instance, you take a look at Valdosta, you take a look at Tifton, you take a look at your bigger 7A school, even Camden. Do you know the most attendance this year for the Georgia State games, the championship games? Do you know the 2 fan bases that brought the most attendance this year?
I would guess probably Buford.
Nope, it was Fitzgerald and Thomasville.
I believe it.
And
two community schools, yeah.
I get that, but I'm saying your bigger community schools, people aren't really showing up anyway. They're not as supportive like they were 10 years ago for your bigger schools. I travel all over the state, and the most packed out stadiums I see are single A through triple A. When I get to 4A through 7A, the crowds aren't near as big as some of these smaller schools.
Well, some of that could be because they're just, got terrible coaches and and players are transferring out already. There's some comments on here. One in particular kind of stood out to me. This is a new name that I didn't recognize before. Said this is from Primetime Gridiron. He makes the point. He says he's challenging him on my point that I made earlier. He said, with that line of thinking, LG, South Georgia won't be winning anything. That may be the case in the future, but I beg to differ right now. Just this past season, we had Brooks County win a championship. Fitzgerald won a championship. A couple seasons before that, back-to-back, Irwin County wins the championship. A couple years ago, Lowndes was playing for a state championship. A couple years before that, Colquitt County won back-to-back state championships. So it can be done. It's not very easy to do for a team down here, especially in the higher classifications, because we are going against these super assembled teams. I can see that point. It's happening in the metro Atlanta area, Justin. But my point is, why we hate that so much, that these schools up there in metro Georgia do this stuff. And, it kind of confuses me to now that we're saying that, listen, we just might as well join them because we're not going to beat them. I just don't like that kind of thinking. That's why Jason Anderson's picking on me.
do you want to be the Lee County of South Georgia, or do you want to be the Berrien of South Georgia?
Listen, man. I want to be the Al Davis with integrity. Just win, baby, but do it the right way.
That went out the window a long time ago.
Yeah.
Listen, man, I'm call me old fashioned, guys. I'm still rooted in what I'd like to think as integrity. I just think there's a proper way to do things, and I just don't think that this is the proper course.
Now, it doesn't make that compulsory, right?
No, it doesn't.
So you could still run your program without this.
Yeah, you could still be now, according to what I've read in the bill.
You may not win.
If you're a school system, you could still refuse to take these types of athletes. But you know what's going to happen. You're going to have some surrounding schools start to take this, and through peer pressure, it's going to happen. The administration is eventually going to cave, and it's going to happen. But Jason Anderson, you're just heckling me tonight, man. He says, embrace cheating, Larry. That's what people want in 2022. But if this bill passes, Jason, it would no longer be cheating. It would be completely legit according to the rules.
Well, let's throw this out there. So what if that happens? I think net revenues would increase in high school football. I think there would be more money generated. So then what do you do with all the money? Because now you're starting down the road of the NCAA. Do you compensate athletes?
Well, it depends on what kind of money you're talking about. If you're talking about corporate donors, that kind of stuff, the guys that really want a state championship and want it all costs, that kind of stuff will increase. Now, as far as stadium attendance goes and tickets, I think that is a temporary, short-lived deal, because as that pack of bees moves on to the next school, then you're going to see attendance start to fall off again.
Well, that argument's contingent on that, though, that mass migration yearly. I just don't see it. I think there's going to be pride for Lowndes County football. There's going to be pride for Coffee County Trojan football. Name your school. I think it's going to Berrien. I hate it for Nashville. They're probably going to dip to Valdosta.
Listen, you guys might be able to sway me. George, Justin, you guys might be able to sway me if I were a legislator to vote for this bill. If you could promise me two things, give me a guarantee, almost a rider to this bill, if you will. One is Rush Probst be named the head coach immediately when this bill passes.
I can promise you that'll never happen if I got any power in say.
And then two, I want like dibs on the best 22 athletes in South Georgia.
I just said that a while ago, and you said no. I don't want that championship.
Listen, I want those two things together, man.
So now that it's legal, it's just playing by the rules.
You can put anybody in that head coaching position if you got 22 of the best athletes coming to Berrien.
I don't know, man. I've seen some head coaches kind of bungle up talent.
If Larry Campbell can win, if Larry Campbell can win 2 back-to-back championships in Hawkinsville with Todd Coley and that crew he had, Ray Charles could have won it. I'm telling you. In single A, you don't need that. You don't need that. You don't need a coach in single A. You just put the kids on the field and let them go.
Hey, we're double A, man. Get it right.
Oh, I forgot y'all are double A. Yeah, you're not beating Fitzgerald then, no matter what happens. So listen,
That's that Georgia bill. That's before the legislature now. Now that kind of wasn't really what I was asking for. What if a formal transfer portal were set up in the state of Georgia that was managed by the GHSA? So let's say if a player were playing for Lowndes and he wasn't getting playing time, or maybe he just won a state championship last year, and for whatever reason, like Jermaine Burton, he wants to move on. So he goes to the GHSA or he goes to his head coach at Lowndes High School, who is required to contact the GHSA, opens up the portal and has 48 hours to put this kid's name in the portal. And now that opens them up to any school, and that any head coach now is allowed to contact that player and his parents. Would you be in favor of a system like that?
100%.
100%.
Yep. Let it happen.
No hesitation there. What about you, George?
I'm not sold on that idea.
Let it happen.
That's almost hyperbole to me, but I don't think we're going to instantly do this, and it's going to be Kirby flying in a helicopter to Lowndes to try to, schmooze your all-star freshman quarterback.
Yeah. All right. So last question before we end the show. We're into overtime now. This Justin, this is a question for you from Alan Lott. He says, Justin, who's coming to play quarterback for Lowndes? As if there's not a Lowndes guy on the screen, but the question is to you, Justin. Who's coming to play quarterback for Lowndes?
I have no earthly idea, man. It all depends on. I'm still trying to figure out if the Langdales are a supporter of Lowndes, and they need to start putting some money up to get y'all some studs over there, man.
Oh man! So your official answer is I don't know.
My official answer is I have no idea.
Gotcha. Okay, guys, y'all heard it here first. Justin Haley just said I have no idea.
I will say
it doesn't happen often.
You'll have a better passing quarterback.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I think we're going to see a kid like either a Marvis Parrish at quarterback next year, Alan, or another kid named Kevis Thomas that was a transfer up from Taylor County out of Florida.
See, and
he's a little over a year ago.
Without cracking a smile.
Listen, man, he was on the team. He was on the team last year. Okay, he's already been there a year.
Well, what happens if somebody like what's the kid's name that went to Thomas County Central? Sam Brown.
Sam Brown.
What if he just says, "Hey, let me come to Lowndes"? You're not going to take him?
If he and his family makes a makes a bona fide
no. If the
Lowndes County,
if the bill passes and he can stay in Thomas County and just come to Lowndes,
I would prefer that he not.
Man, you look here. You don't ever put your name in for a coaching
job. I don't
job.
know the Browns, man. I'm sure they're fine people, but I didn't go to church with those guys. I didn't grow up watching their kids play ball.
Yeah, but I
don't know anything about them.
Is you watching little Johnny run around and play on the monkey bars at church going to translate into a football championship?
All I know is Marvis Parrish came up through the system. He was a great 9th grade quarterback last year. He looks like he's got all the skills. I would love to see him take snaps at Lowndes before Sam Brown, just because I don't know Sam Brown and his family.
Okay,
that's all I'm saying.
I'm going to give you a hypothetical. Last question. I don't know the Parrish kid. I have no idea. I've never seen the kid play. But if let's say the Parrish kid is going to be the starting quarterback for Lowndes.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to use this as an example. Deshaun Watson is a senior in high school, and he says, "You know what? I want to come play. I want to take all these records I'm about to break. I want to come play for Lowndes." You're telling me you would, just because you know the Parrish kid and seen him grew up? He said, "No, I don't want. Why? If you were the head coach, then no, I don't want you to move in."
Listen, I think I've been pretty clear with my stance on transfers, because there's you got to understand the way I answer questions. I'm a big stickler for following rules, and the current rules already have a mechanism for kids to move into a community.
I just don't want.
Yeah, if he moves and if he competes, and if family moves in here, supports the local economy, makes a bona fide move, tries to get to know the community, hey, they want to be a part of the community. So what do I have against that? But if this bill passes, and then all of a sudden you got kids and their families residing in Colquitt and Thomas County and Tifton, and they're just driving to school every day and playing Friday night and driving back to Tifton for the weekend, not getting to know our community. They're not part of our community. That's all I'm saying. There's still room in this world, even as much as we all love winning. There's still room in this world for us to support our communities because we love it. This is the place we live.
I agree with you for 3A and below. 4A and 7A, you can't have that mentality anymore.
Gotcha.
I was going to ask you guys that. What do you think about establishing a new sort of a traveling, like all-star type super conference or something like that, where teams are allowed to do that? And you may elect to put your program in it, or you may elect to be traditional. And it may, I mean, we're just so different from Metro Atlanta, say, to south of I-16. The state is two totally different, demographics, and it's hard to legislate a one size fits all, that can be fairly applied. I don't know. I just see the real benefit of trying to.
Ben, taking a little side swipe. Listen, we'll end with this comment, guys, because we're way over time. Ben says, Kirby Smart would play the parish kid.
Yeah, that's why all Kirby's receivers are leaving.
Ben, that was a good one, man. I gotta hand it to you. That was a good one. Well, guys, listen, that's as much fun as we're having. That's the end of our show tonight. You guys have been watching the pregame blitz. Hey, listen, see how much fun this is? This is not a typical sports show where we're checking in with everybody for 20 minutes and talking about this and this and this and really not saying very much. No, this is a lively, fan-driven debate type of format.
Are we throwing shots?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it, Justin. Guys, listen, before Justin says something out of hand, he's Justin Haley. You've listened to George Braddock. I'm Larry Godwin. You guys have been watching the pregame blitz. We'll see you guys next week. We're out of here.
See you.